I should begin by asking you to share with us the moments of your terms in office that were the most gratifying to you. And maybe we should begin with you, Bob Strider.
There's a certain irony in the fact that since fundraising was the aspect of my new job as president of the college in 1960 that I knew the least about, that the most exciting thing that happened was in the area of fundraising. The Ford Foundation let it be known about 1960 that they were going to make a round of grants totaling some $40 million to about 40 liberal arts college presidents. To our great delight, Colby was among those 40 or so liberal arts colleges that got the Ford grant. We had a historic meeting with a representative of the Ford Foundation who startled some of the board by saying, "We're going to give you some money. How much do you want?" And after we narrowed this down, it turns out that the minimum gift that was possible was $1 million. The maximum was 2.5, but we weren't eligible for it because we did not have a sufficiently impressive fundraising record. In fact, we had none compared to theirs. The Ford Foundation settled on $1.8 million, for which we were to raise $3.6 million, and we actually raised $4.6 million. The reason this was so exciting, well, a lot of reasons, but the big one was it moved Colby into a fundraising bracket that it had never occupied before. We were joining the big leagues, and we hadn't been anywhere near this level of fundraising achievement. So it changed our categories. And with that came a lot of advantages and a good deal of attention from the rest of the world, and it was a pretty exciting thing to see Colby's name among pretty prestigious colleges that we had not necessarily been associated with in the public mind before. The Gen Plan is the other thing that I want to talk about. The Educational Policy Committee had been working on a curricular revision and was quite impressed by the 3-term plan that Dartmouth was working on. We tried this out on the faculty, and they weren't particularly impressed, and nobody was impressed except the committee. So it became obvious that we'd have to drop that. But we got going on something else. And then we spent maybe 3 years researching the idea of ending the first semester by the Christmas holidays, having the month of January devoted to a special kind of period of study, which we called the January Program of Independent Study. It was a calendar change, but we were particularly interested in encouraging more independent study, more flexibility in the curriculum, more opportunity to use time on our own, really. January was a kind of dead spot, everybody recovering from exams in the old days, and we tried to turn that into something creative. So the Gen Plan caught on, and it was very exciting to me, as having helped to usher this through the committees. We refined the idea until we had something workable, and when the faculty finally passed it, it was a very exciting moment.
Thank you. Bill Cotter.
Yeah, let me pick up on something that Bob has talked about. The Ford grant was interesting in 2 ways. One, it was, as Bob said, it was the beginning of a real fundraising operation and emphasis at the college. The last one was a campaign that Larry Pugh was chairing. He made, I believe, Bob, you can correct me, but at least in the time I was there, he made $1 million gift, which was the first time Colby had received $1 million from a living person in its history.
Yes, that's true.
And he started that, and as board chair and leading the campaign, this just percolated through the trustees and the larger alumni body. We had a great emphasis on and endowing faculty chairs as part of it, the academic heart, as you talked about, Bob. And when we started, we had 3 endowed faculty chairs. When we finished the campaign, we had 31.
There's no contest in my own mind about the highest moment or the most exciting one. Interestingly, connected to fundraising, but also to the curriculum, was the evolution of the discussion that led to the Lunder gift of art to Colby, which we announced a couple of years ago. The reason it's exciting to me, or one of the reasons, is that it positions the college, maybe not uniquely, but very, very prominently among liberal arts colleges to do something pretty spectacular with the visual arts. And we've tried to understand that not just as a museum matter, but as a curricular matter having to do with teaching of art, the making of art, now including, interestingly and recently, the evolution of a film studies program, the expansion, as I was telling Bill earlier, of the photography program, really putting Colby even more prominently on the map with respect to the visual arts. So it's one of those things that started organically back with the Jetties and his Seeley Bixler's relationship with them, your relationship subsequently, Bob.
Oh, Seeley, well before mine, and now don't forget Jim Carpenter.
And Jim Carpenter too.
He's very central at this point.
Absolutely. That moment stands out for me, but again, it's like all these moments, it's one that connects not only presidents, but a whole lot of organic developments at the institution over a very long period of time.